Thanks. So, every one of us is in pursuit of happiness. And it's also a great relief to realize that a happy life is actually a sustainable life. We're standing here today in the middle of the Amazon with a message of hope. We're saying that Brazil has all the possibilities in the world to become a true superpower of happiness.
Now I want you all please close your eyes. Can you please close your eyes and think of the situation that you were last time really happy? Try and visualize it. See what's going on around you. What are you doing? What are the smells? See it with your mind's eye. Has everyone got some sort of picture of a moment that they were really happy? Brilliant. Now you can open your eyes, and if you were in company of other people, please put your hand up, raise your hand. This is the point of our presentation. I guess we can go now. Or...
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, maybe we'll run through a couple more slides. This is the magic formula that we've been working on. There are two really interesting scientific findings that we as a team have been working really hard to understand better. First of all, for some reason, we are incredibly bad in knowing what makes us happy. Secondly, we are constantly overusing our natural resources, and essentially we're stealing from the future. So from this equation of happiness within the ecological limits of the planet was sort of born our journey into the politics of happiness. And on the journey we put together a great amount of research ranging from psychology to neuroscience to different behavioral studies, life cycle assessments, urban studies, you name it. And the final question remains, how can we as the global humankind live happily with as little impact as possible?
But let's first ask, what is happiness? Happiness is essentially action that takes place between people. Right. It is action between people. It's important to understand that happiness is not the passive state of mind. It's a process. It's something you engage with. It's not something you can give or store or buy or sell. It's something you build.
If you look at studies on happiness, there's three fundamental observations on the human nature that we constantly run into. First of all, we as humans are social animals. We tend to compare ourselves to other people. We live in constant comparison. And if you say you don't do this, you're a liar. The second point is that we get used to changes very easily, very quickly. Good ones, bad ones, positive, negative. We adapt very quickly. And the third point is that it is truly impossible to become happy alone. It just doesn't happen. So these three are the essential findings that you have to think about when dealing with happiness.
Two really interesting things happened in the late 50s. Firstly, we started attacking the problem of overproduction by trying to sell things to people based on their subconscious desires rather than their rational and conscious needs. Second, even more interesting thing happened, which was that in the United States, the growth in GDP stopped contributing to the amount of very happy American citizens. Interestingly enough, this has then happened in all wealthy countries. And even more interestingly, this happens with individuals as well. As soon as we hit the median wage, any salary rise will contribute to our happiness for a matter of months. It's difficult to believe that how it is. And what has changed since 1957? Not much. We're still striving for happiness by trying to increase our capacity to consume, which is like wetting yourself on a cold winter day. The warm feeling doesn't stay for too long.
Okay, so let's get political. What are we talking about? From the basis of happiness studies, we can come up with 5 realms for politics of happiness. And these are truly the 5 topics that need to be promoted by political actions as well. Politics of happiness, we're talking about politics of real free time, politics of meaningful places, politics of cooperation, politics of healthy lifestyles, and finally, politics of open families.
Real free time. What is real free time? Currently, we split our time between making money and spending money and trying to fit family into somewhere in this equation, which is sometimes referred to as the work-life balance. So you may ask yourself, where is the real free time? Real free time, however, isn't slow life or slow food or slow travel. It can be really hectic. It's deep engagement into things that are free from the necessities of home, free from the necessities of production, free from the necessities of consumption. It's very deep and it's very open.
Happiness, like we said, is an activity that takes place between people. It also always happens in a certain space. If we think about our current spaces, they are often not very good. Spaces that we create actually limit our engagement with other people, and both our current public and private spaces, we either run into people that are very similar to ourselves all the time, or then the other option is that we get bumped into people by force that we don't want to bump into. So then, if we want to add to this concept of the two concepts of public and private space, we actually are desperately seeking a third space. What could that mean? Places where people can engage in meaningful activities with other people that actually might have a different background from us. So for now, we've been seeking, as you can see in the photo, we've been seeking meaning from bigger homes, from bigger cars, more cars, home spas, home theaters, home gyms. And sadly, becoming wealthy has actually isolated us from other people. So this is the true challenge to public space. As we now are able to adjust our homes to our liking, we should be able to adjust public spaces as well. It's our right.
Politics of cooperation. Human beings are wonderful beings. We're really happy when we can take part in common decisions, and we're really happy when we can guide our own lives. And the research even shows that the happiest ones of us are people who recognize some sort of goal outside themselves. So how come we still spend most of our time producing what other people tell us to do and not freely work with each other for a common good? Yes, there are examples like Wikipedia of this type of production, but what we need to do is make it into a mainstream way of production. What we need to do is create societies the same way we create Wikipedia.
If you look at the graph on the left-hand side, it shows the blue columns show the top 20 countries with the longest life expectancy in the world, and the red line in the middle shows the amount of spending on healthcare in these countries. So if you look at the graph, it's quite clear to see that the two are completely unrelated. Health is fundamentally a cultural phenomenon, and it's all about how we live, how we eat, how we move around and spend our pastime making different choices. We really need to start understanding what motivates people's choices and think about how we can build healthy routines and make those into healthy lifestyles. And on the right-hand side, you see a very easy choice that we tend to make. So how can we make those healthy choices, the sustainable choices, the easy ones, the inspiring ones, the most accessible ones? Because for now, it's often quite the opposite.
The concept of family needs to be redefined. Most marriages end up breaking up, and most couples are happiest before their first child is born. Still, it's precisely the type of relationships that one sees in a family that are the really building blocks of happiness. They are relationships based on sharing, rather than transactions or hierarchies. So what we need to do is we need to be able to extend this realm of sharing that is familiar to us from families, create an open family.
Okay, so let's imagine we are a new political party, one that focuses on happiness and one planet living. So it's election time, so what's on the agenda? Well, a whole lot. You can see a whole lot of examples. Just imagine if we would tax unused space in cities for being idle, and imagine if schools could actually become centers of society where people going to work would be in the same building as their kids, or combine those with combining elderly homes with kindergartens and maybe with immigration centers, Or imagine if there was a national time fund to boost volunteer activity. You know, you would get extra credit, you would get days off at your workplace if you spend some hours doing volunteer service in your free time.
So why do we say that Brazil could be a superpower of happiness? It's quite simple. Have a look at this graph. Here, on the right-hand side, are the richest countries in the world, and here on top are the happiest countries in the world. And Brazil is right here. So Brazil is at the crossroads. You can have a choice how to develop this country. You can either go this way, which means that you produce and consume more of the natural resources that make the planet work. Or you can go the hard way. You can go political and you can aim for happiness directly, not via GDP. How? Brazil, as a lot of the developing countries, has got walls between people. The most severe one of them is the class system. Rich remain rich and poor remain poor. And this is maintained mainly by the education system. There are different schools for rich kids and different schools for poor kids. And it's renewed in the public spaces, in the employment market and at the work. These type of walls are holding you back for becoming the superpower of happiness.
So that's basically it. Tear down the walls of separation between people, and that's the way to make Brazil a superpower of happiness. Você não é feliz sozinho? A felicidade é uma ação significativa entre pessoas. E possibilitando estes encontros com as pessoas diferentes, é o caminho para uma sociedade viva, poderosa e feliz.